everyone, this is Yana and I'm finally back from CHA. We had one hell of a trip back home with 4 flights and huge delays and lost baggage too, but we finally made it and I'm happy to be sitting on my couch and drinking my coffee. I've shared several videos from CHA, and in case you missed those, you can find them in the CHA playlist on my YouTube channel. But if you're not into CHA stuff, let's just dive into our today's card. So this is another clean and simple die cutting episode, and today I'm going to be making 3 Valentine's Day cards using texture plates from Spellbinder's Gilded Life collection. Gilded Life is a beautiful line with lots of gorgeous products, lots of pendants, trims, expensive high-quality glitter, and things like that. But what they also have is amazing dies. Today I'm going to use several of their texture plates to create a letterpressed, or I guess I should call it debossed texture on my cards. These cards were actually inspired by a different video I did a couple of days ago using an expandable pattern die, also from Spellbinders. You can watch that video on my YouTube channel by clicking the link you see on the screen. Anyhow, today I'm going to be making similar cards, but I will use different products. So here I have 3 texture plates from Spellbinders. These are metal, just like their dies, but instead of cutting a design, they only create texture. Now, I've experimented with those and tried the embossing sandwich for these and also a die cutting sandwich. You can use these either way, but the results will be different. So this one was embossed. I used the embossing sandwich for this piece of paper. You can see the pattern a bit better and it shows on both the front and the back of the paper. Now the second piece was created using a cutting sandwich, but instead of creating a cut, this texture plate created debossed texture on my cardstock, which I kind of really like. It is something new and fresh. Now the stripe one doesn't have much of a difference. You can barely see the difference between the embossed and textured pieces. I like both of them, very stylish and modern. And here's the third one, the third plate. First you have the embossed paper, looks very different and kind of rich, very rich. And here's the textured paper. So you can see by just using a different sandwich, you can achieve very different results. Now for my today's card, I'm going to be using these texture plates, and I also plan to use one more Spellbinders die, which is the Flutter Love. I want to use the filigree heart and also some smaller hearts to scatter around on my finished project. One more die that I also want to use is the arrow die from the Shoot set from the Spellbinders Inspire line. It's an older die from about a year ago. So I'm going to start working on my card by trimming panels of white cardstock to 3 by 5.5 inches. This is the width of the texture plates that I'm going to use, so I need to make sure my paper is cut to the same size. I've also created A2 landscape top folding card bases using cardstock from Hero Arts. These are colored on the outside and white on the inside, which is nice and gives you a nice white space for your sentiment or for your card greeting. Now that I'm all set, I can begin creating texture on my cardstock panels. Like I said, I've cut these to the same width as my texture plates, and all I need to do now is to tape these in place, tape my paper down to my texture plate, and I'm going to use my regular cutting sandwich and going to send these through my Artisan Explorer machine from Spellbinders. This is going to work in any other machine. You just need to make sure you're using a cutting sandwich. You can of course use your embossing sandwich if you want to have a different embossed look using these texture plates. I'm going for textured paper look, so I'm using the die cutting sandwich this time. Just a note, it might be a little hard to send this through the machine since this is such a huge piece of metal, but the result you get is absolutely gorgeous. And check the back of my paper, it is not embossed. It does have all of the little indentations from the cutting plate, but that is going to be hidden and no one will see that. This way there's no embossing on the back and the paper looks flat and textured, which is kind of cool, I think. So here are all 3 of my textured panels. I love how they turned out. I did use the same cutting sandwich for all 3 of these. Now I can go ahead and cut the hearts for my card. Once again, I'm using the same layering paper from Hero Arts that I used to create my card base. It has color on one side and is white on the other. The reason I chose this particular paper is because of the color. I really like this shade. It's not too bright, very subtle and very beautiful. I'm also going to die cut an arrow out of black cardstock to create a bit of a contrast for my project. The black on the arrow is going to match the black on my stamped sentiment. Now, before I start putting all of this together, I want to make sure my embossed panels are a little bit more sturdy. So I'm going to adhere a piece of white cardstock to the back of each. This additional piece is going to make my panel a little bit thicker and a little bit more sturdier. It's going to help it stay level once I pop it up using foam adhesive. I often do this with my embossed papers. I back them up a little, and this also works great for watercolor pieces where the paper warps. This backup panel helps to keep it flat. Now I can go ahead and adhere my textured panel to my card base. I'm going to use the grid lines of my cutting mat to help me adhere this straight and centered onto my base. I can then insert the arrow into the heart, and that's why I actually like these filigree hearts. You can insert an arrow through the heart and you don't need to pierce any holes or anything like that. Next, I'm going to stamp a Be Mine sentiment using black ink from Spellbinders and a stamp from Avery L. They have some great Valentine's Day sentiments in their collections. Now I'm going to use the sentiment strip to also hide the foam adhesive for my heart. I want to create some dimension on my project, and I'm going to use foam adhesive to attach my heart, but I don't want any of it to show through. So I'm going to hide it behind that sentiment strip. This is another trick that I usually use when I need to adhere an intricate die cut. I just place a sentiment strip on top of it. You can of course cut your adhesive into smaller pieces, and I do that too, but it doesn't always work. So this is another nice way to hide it. So I've added 3 foam squares to the sentiment strip, adhered it to my heart with an arrow inside, and now I'm going to add a few more to the back of the heart to pop the heart up. So the heart area has double thickness of foam squares, and notice that the loose ends of my sentiment strip also have foam squares. There's only one foam square, so only single thickness, if that's the right way to put it. So that creates somewhat of a curved look on my project. To finish this card, I'm going to adhere the little die-cut hearts, and I'm going to scatter these going diagonally. I'm using tweezers to help me hold and pick these up, and adhesive from Ranger. This is a multi-matte medium to adhere these down. As a one last touch, I'm going to add a few of the Hero Art Smooth gems. Unfortunately, these are discontinued, and I'm not sure if any of the stores still have them or not, but you can use regular gems here as well. So this finishes my card, and here's one more look at all of my cards together using texture plates from Spellbinders to create textured paper. Thank you for joining me today. If you're looking for a list of products I used, you can find them in the video description and also on my blog. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more videos using products from Spellbinders, be sure to check out the link you see on the screen. And if you're new to my channel, please subscribe. I have new videos coming out every week, sometimes even a couple times a week. Thanks, and bye!